This is the MIAA Weekly.
Welcome to week 10 of MIAA Weekly. I am joined here with my guy, the expert of the MIAA. It might be a little bit strong.
It's definitely strong.
John Dykstra. John, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Busy week of sports around here, but I've got to make time for Witt.
Well, you know what? We're going to get into the games here momentarily, but John, you guys had some news today in your area in St. Joe, down the road from you. To unpack a little bit of that for us here about kind of what's happening in your area and why it's important.
I appreciate you mentioning that. There was a merger in St. Joe. When I first got into this and first started covering D2, in the MIAA, the kind of standards were the St. Joseph News Press and KQ2, which is in St. Joe as well. The News Press owns 3 TV stations in St. Joe, and KQ2 owns 1. And today it was announced that they were merging together. Over the last few years, the News Press has kind of fallen off in their coverage to where they basically provide no MIAA coverage. So that's a kind of scary time, I think. I'm sure that's on the radar in the MIAA offices. So it's a little scary. Luckily, a couple of our guys who contribute to this show, Chris Roush and Brett Kennedy, really good guys, are still employed. There are a lot who aren't after today, though, and I just want to say that, I mean, a lot of those are friends of mine, and it sucks when this happens, but it seems like it's happening more and more. So,
Sure.
For a little plug, go wherever you are, subscribe to your local paper, do what you can. If you're an advertiser, advertise. Yeah, local journalism needs it, and I believe it's pretty important. So, yeah, go help out those people whenever you can.
John, did you just get done shaving?
No, I need to. That's the bigger issue. I can't be like you. I saw the beard on NSIC, and now it's gone. So you're the professional one in this group. I make that ploy to help journalism, and people will see me here and be like, man, why should that guy needs all the help he can get? So maybe it'll help me. But no games today. Today was supposed to be a writing day, and then we had Northwest Missouri journalism in crisis mode, so that ended up taking up a lot of my day. So writing day after we get done here.
Well, buddy, let's you and I kind of go ahead and jump into this last week's action, and we'll start off with Kearney down in this football game. Come back and beat UCO by 2 scores. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, this game was 17-0 in the second quarter. Kearney, or UCO, I mean, and then Kearney scores 35-7 to finish this thing out and get the win. Yeah, you tell me with the way Kearney's been performing lately that they were going to put up 35 points. I wouldn't have believed you, but they ran for 230 yards and got a big win here for them. And those injuries have really snake bitten them, or else we'd be talking about them maybe in the regional rankings. But still a good win to show that they're still fighting there in Kearney.
I totally agree. And, at the same time, it looks like UCO's kind of lost some of their spirit along the way. But this Kearney team is, they get after you physically, and at the same time, they had a balanced offensive attack in this contest. Yeah. And I mean, I think that says a fair amount about their coaching staff, the fact that they're still getting them and getting this type of effort from them the way they did here. So
100% agree.
Well, moving on to our next game, Pitt State goes ahead and kind of has their way in this one, 30-10 against Missouri Southern. What are your thoughts here, buddy?
Yeah, not a whole lot to see here. Honestly, it wasn't a crazy offensive day from Pitt or anything. Just kind of went about their business. They held there was a good defensive day. They held Missouri Southern, who we think of as a good rushing offense, to 11 net yards on the ground. Now, a lot of those were 7 quarterback sacks, which impressive in its own right. But the Pitt defense really showed up in this one, and the offense did enough. They got 30 points. I don't think we're rolling quite the way they want to be yet, but we'll see moving forward with that. But the defense is playing really good for sure.
Yeah, I kind of had that same thought, and with Pitt, I'm wondering, are they kind of falling back a little bit into that? We're going to play defensive football and not feel like we need to be as explosive offensively. I don't know. We'll have to see, because for them, 315 yards of offense or whatever it was, and I mean, it feels like they're able to play a style right now, John, or they know their defense is going to play well enough that they can just live in the world of good enough offensively.
Exactly. And the question is that going to work against Northwest and then in the playoffs? And last year, the answer was no. Well, it worked against Northwest, obviously, but in the playoffs, the answer was no. We'll see. We'll see this year if that can be different, or if they can get Barry going again.
Well, I mean, when you're averaging, 3.5 yards a carry on the day, running the ball, and you throw the ball 40 times, but you only end up 182 yards passing.
Exactly.
I mean, they're going to need to make sure they reestablish kind of that explosive piece because for the games that are upcoming, whether it's Northwest playoffs, stuff like that, I think.
And Barry was making more plays with his legs earlier in the season as well. Only 3 carries for 3 yards in this one. I think they need to be more explosive, but maybe it's in there and they're just waiting until the big games where they need to show it. But David Brooks agrees with that analysis too. They've been a little lackluster.
Moving on through the different games, let's go ahead and move forward to Northwest. Northwest ends up winning handily here, 41-14. What do you have to unpack for us there?
Yeah, this game, less about the game and more about kind of what was around it with the injuries. Zachariah Owens played 1 series in this game. They weren't planning on playing him at all, but Chris Runke had his contact knocked out. So he came in for 1 series, obviously available, but they would have rather rested him as he's dealing with some nagging injuries. Obviously wanting him ready for Pitt and the playoffs coming up. And then Tashawn Porter, another one, got hurt in the first half and played. I think he had 4 carries for the game. He's a starting running back. So putting up 41 points without your starting backfield for most of the game is a good sign for Northwest. But they also want to be at full strength when they get to Kansas City and to wherever they end up in the playoffs.
Well, to limit Emporia, which is typically a pretty strong offense, to under 200 yards and make them punt 8 times. At the same time, holding them in the passing game to 11-28.
71.
You're going to beat Emporia if you do that.
71 yards, the fewest yards passing Emporia has had in a decade.
Don't doubt it.
Garen Higgins football. So the last time was in the playoffs against Henderson State in, I believe, 2014, might have been 15. But yes, other than that, it's the second fewest in that time. So,
John, let me ask you a question here, kind of off the cuff. How good do you think this Northwest defense is?
I think they're very good. I think we haven't seen them tested against a playoff caliber offense yet, I would say, because UCO was beat up when they played them. I think Emporia might have been their biggest test offensively, at least to the way they want to play. But I think they're really good. It's an odd defense because the secondary is so new, but we kind of knew the front 7 and they're playing like we expect them to be playing at this point. But yeah, just the ability to stop the pass was the main question I had with them, and doing this to Emporia, that's really impressive. We'll see against Pitt with the physicality and how they match up to that, but so far so good for this defense, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, they're now in the top 10 nationally in yards allowed per game, along with points allowed per game. They're giving up 16 points a game, which is it puts you in the conversation with some other very good defensive units throughout the country. So I just it kind of caught my eye as to how have they moved up in this, and to what extent, and whatnot, and kind of what your take was.
In this
Because
game,
I mean, after that first game,
yeah.
it feels like they've been damn near as good as anybody in the country.
And this game is kind of deceiving with the stats they did give up. Emporia's first drive of the game was a 3-play, 70-yard drive with a 55-yard run by Diego Stearns. Really good back, by the way. And then the other touchdown drive was in the fourth quarter on a fumble punt. So, yeah, they were completely dominant for kind of the middle portions of this game until then. So, yeah, we'll see. And Lakers, right, they are really helping out the Mavs right now.
Well, let's go ahead and move to our next game, which is one that I thought Fort Hays kind of had them until they didn't.
I did too. I'd rather not talk about this game because of the pick'em we're going to show later. But if you make me, I guess we will. Yeah, UCM ends this game. They were down 24-7 in the third quarter. Another huge comeback, and obviously 3 straight touchdowns. Hogan Wasson, we've talked about him plenty of times, but one of the best receivers, maybe the best in the MIAA. And then Donovan Amola, we talked about him so much too, and he, like you said, he's either going to win you the game or lose you the game, and he won it with 3 touchdown passes down the stretch in this one. So impressive for the Mules to keep fighting, even when kind of similar to like we said with UNK, they were down, be really easy to tuck your tail and kind of give in on this one, and they fought back and got a win. So good for Lambeau's crew.
What do you hear anything about Pospisil, the receiver that was kind of so effective for him earlier? I know he's had an injury. Is there any chance of him coming back? Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything to that. I've just kind of assumed at this point that he's out for the year.
Okay.
Our chat might be able to provide some light on that. I know we have some UCM people in there quite often, but yeah, I mean, if they could get him back, that'd be huge. But I at this point of the season, I just kind of assume
As big as it can be with 2 weeks left, right?
Yeah.
The final game, the Griffins, 2 weeks in a row now, right, John?
2 wins in a row going into Northwest, and they're talking their talk coming into Northwest, so that'll be fun. But no, this game was a weird finish. I don't know how many of our chat was really tuned into this game, probably, but there was Western rallied to take that lead, that 20 or that 3-point lead that you see that ended up being the final score. Washburn drives down the field. They're at the edge of field goal range, and then they get a controversial pass interference call that I would say probably went against the Griffins and should have went the other way to get them down inside the red zone, easy chip shot field goal range with 11 seconds left. And they drop back, take their shot to the end zone. Well, they are ruled for intentional grounding when they throw the ball away in that situation. Washburn is 10-second runoff, game over. You don't get to kick the game-time field goal or take another touchdown shot. Controversial grounding call, to say the least, on that one. He was rolling out. It's a close call. I would say the PI was probably worse than the grounding call, but I don't know if I agree with either of them. But
Wow.
Regardless, the Griffins found a way to get their second straight win. And like we said with the other teams, it just says something when you're still fighting at this point. And honestly, I believe both these teams are still fighting and playing well. And if I redid my power rankings, they'd both be a lot higher than they were before, because I just think they still care at this point, and that says something.
Fair enough. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the players of the week?
Well, it's simple because I saw a couple of them play. Dom Myers, huge game. I talked about Deshaun Porter being out, the starting running back. Dom, and then Quincy Torrey, another really good back for Northwest, stepped in, and Dom got 100 yards rushing on the dot in this one on like 12 carries. He was really good. He was also the leading receiver in the pass game. He's about 5'6" on a good day, and he went up and over a DB for a 30-some yard touchdown catch in the fourth quarter, which had his teammates plenty fired up for that one. He made sure to point out to me after the game that he was an all-state receiver in high school, so he wasn't surprised. But frankly, I was. The kid who was covering him about twice his height. But really good game for Dom. Carter Edwards, fantastic game. 2.5 sacks for him. At one point, Northwest had a bad snap on a punt, and the ball was recovered at the 9-yard line, 1st and goal for Emporia. Well, Carter had like a 16-yard sack on 2nd down, and then forced an incompletion on 3rd down, and Emporia tried a fake field goal from the 26-yard line, which he also sacked the holder on. So kind of single-handedly prevented some points there. Carter's really good player, obviously, and yeah, playing really well right now for them. And then Austin Smith, we talked a lot about him too. He had 3 field goals, I believe. Yes, 3 field goals in their win over Southern. So he continues to be a weapon. And like I said a couple weeks ago when he won this award, look out for him in the playoffs, because he might make a big kick in your team's season.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, let's you and I go ahead and move to the standings. So, we only got a few weeks left. As we take a look at it here, I think that we probably had the bottom 3 in that area. Now, if we take a look at some of the rest, Kearney at 6-4 overall, very impressive. And if they would have found a way to not drop, a 4th game, they would have still, frankly, been in the mix, John. They really
with that win over Shadron, they whooped up on Shadron, so we see where they are in the mix right now. So
right.
Yeah, they definitely would be.
Yeah, so kind of a bad deal for them there, but I think they've had a nice season, and I think they've exceeded some expectations. We're still at the point though where, in terms of the overall record, you got 2 teams that really stand out, and the rest kind of don't.
Like Sway said, it's wrestling season for quite a few of them. I like it switching it up from basketball, but in Edmond, that's a bigger deal. It's that 3 through 7. If you care about the end of the season and saying, "Hey, we were 3rd in the MIAA," that's an interesting race, I guess, the rest of the way. I don't know if a lot of those coaches care about saying that. So I don't know how much stock to put in it, but really at this point, it's the top 2 teams, and I think we'll talk more about it later, but I think they're both sitting pretty good for the playoffs right now. So we'll get to that a little later, though, I know.
Yep. Well, let's go ahead, buddy, and take a look at our top 25 before we move on. This came out earlier today. And, as I go ahead and I look at this here, not a whole lot to unpack for the MIAA, if we're going to be honest. We've got Pitt's moved up kind of all over the course of time to 5.
Top 5 teams again.
Yeah, I have mixed thoughts about them being top 5, if I'm going to be really honest.
There's a
And
team
then
directly below them that I have over them, but there's also a team above them that I have below them. So
there you have it. So, and then Northwest is all the way up at 11, and
that's
I
where they
think
were
deservedly
last week.
so. You know,
Yeah, I
um,
thought they might crawl into the top 10 this week, but yeah, they stay steady at 11, so it's about right.
yeah, the way they would have made it in our top 10 is if Western Colorado had gone ahead and dropped down a little bit further. But I think there's a fair amount of respect for the fact that they played Pueblo in such a close game, and frankly had it for a good portion of it. And those teams are both top 10, so they didn't drop a whole lot because I believe they got as high as what, about 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Western did. So
yeah, they were four or five somewhere up there.
yeah.
So yep, I get it. We won't talk too much more about it. I don't want AC to get mad at me.
Well, let's go ahead and move right on into our games here, buddy. And can Southern sneak one at UCO? What do you think?
I'm saying yes. Give me Southern. The last couple weeks hasn't been as good with the competitiveness, but I think UCO is done. I think they have turned in their chips for this season and are not happy with it. Part of the reasons we'll get to later is I got to catch Fro in our MIAA pick'ems. But I'm taking Southern to pull the upset here, find a way to get it done. Even though it was 30-10 to Pitt, 20-point loss to Pitt isn't the end of the world. Yeah, so give me Southern for a signature win in Edmond.
Is this that much about Southern, or is it more to do with UCO?
Might be more to do with the MIAA pick'em. But
Fair enough.
no, it is more to do with UCO. Southern, where they've been respectable the last few weeks. I'm really, like I said, Sway said it all. It's wrestling season in Edmond. So I think they're done. I could be proven wrong, but if I'm going to pick an upset, this feels like the spot to pick an upset in a team that maybe is playing for has a little bit more at stake because they're trying to make that statement for next season versus a team that's pretty disappointed after an MIAA championship last year.
And I can't disagree with
Yeah,
this comment. At the beginning of the year, we were both expecting these teams to be playoff teams.
absolutely. We could go through Bradley's question at the end of the show if we want, but those are the two that stand out for me because they were 1-2 in the conference in my early season picks. So
Yep,
hard to go a different way on that one.
totally agree. And I'm gonna stay with UCO. I'm not ready to say that anybody's quit the season or has packed it in. So that to that extent, I think that UCO has a chance to finish with some pride here, make sure they have over a 500 season because right now all that's kind of teetering a little bit. So,
Yeah. I
but
don't feel great about it, but it's an upset to be picked, so
mhm.
I'll roll with it.
Okay. So next game, you think this is a pick 'em between in terms of like it's almost a coin flip game at Washburn. What are your thoughts?
I didn't think you'd phrase it like that. That's interesting. No, it's weird because I'm gonna say no. I think Emporia should be a solid favorite in this one, but I'm also gonna pick Washburn because of the pick 'em and needing to come
Mm,
back in it. So I think this is another one where Washburn might be more geared up to kind of make a statement at the end of the year. I think I'm going with a pretty heavy upset on this one and picking Washburn, but I could see a way where they could get it done. So yeah, I'm going the Bods.
yeah, I don't think this would be that big of an upset.
Okay.
Emporia is this iteration of them is a young group, and a young group winning road games is a bit of an ask in the MIAA, I think. So I thought that this was almost a coin flip type game. I couldn't get myself to be quite there. I just kind of trust what coach has done at Emporia to the point where I'm going to take him in a game like this. But as we kind of continue on through the games, got a rivalry contest here. Can Mo West rise up for their rival? I got to be honest with you. I think this is going to be a closer game than the records and everything might indicate.
I have been picking a lot of upsets lately. This won't be.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be that much of a. But
this, I see Northwest kind of coming out. I don't trust. I know it's been better the last few weeks, but I don't trust the Mo West passing game enough. They make their bones by running the ball, Brandon Hall, all that. And Northwest really stuffs the run. So I just don't know how many points Mo West is going to score. And it kind of depends who's in offensively for Northwest. They're certainly more explosive with Owens. And if he plays, I could see him doing something, him putting up a lot of yards and a lot of points here. But if it's Runke, I think it will be more deliberate, but kind of the same results, pretty efficient. I think Northwest rolls in this one on senior day at Bearcat Stadium, which should be quite a crowd for that group because it's a kind of special group of seniors that stayed through the coaching change and everything. I think there's a lot of love for that group. So I think it will be a pretty good atmosphere.
Well, D. Davis agrees with you. I'm going to tell you that right now.
It's not their senior day, though, but yes. D, as you can see in the picture there, related to O'Shea Davis, the starting corner there. So D knows a little bit about what.
Appreciate you joining our deal. Yep. Well, here's
that's awesome, by the way, that D's coming in from California for that game. So good for D.
And our guy Ferg has some thoughts there. I got a feeling that this is going to be one of those games where I'm going to see on the Twitter machine.
It could be.
Yeah, right before half or something like this, and I'm going to see like 14-10 Griffins before half, and all of a sudden it's going to be like, what is going on here? They've won the last few games. I've said all year, I feel like they have better talent than their record represents. We'll see. I'm not taking them to win the game, but I think they can give Northwest a little bit of a scare.
McMiniman might, even though it's not even a prediction to win the game, he might put that on the bulletin board.
He can go put that on the chalkboard. He can put up there in marker. That's fine.
D might pass it along to O'Shea and let him know. So no, and if there's ever a situation for a look ahead game, you're playing one of the worst teams in the league record wise, and you've got Pitt at a neutral site next week. So I get it, but there we go. Talk about transition.
Well, let's go ahead and kind of finish out our picks here, buddy. The final game we have is Pitt State and UCM, and this wasn't here by accident.
No, I'll let you lead. You tell me. You're the headline maker on this one. We got
I got the Mules pulling the upset here in this one.
Yeah.
Last year they boat raced Pitt State at Pitt State, and that game was over by halftime. And by the end of the third quarter, Pitt State didn't want to be there. And it was Zabrowski was doing everything to them. He ran for 100 yards in that game, if I remember right. Yeah. And now I realize he's probably not suiting up for this one.
I was waiting to mention it.
Now, if he did, I would feel all the better. But
I might change my pick in that case.
If UCM can play a little more safer football, but at the same time, go ahead and kind of spread them out, Pitt out, and then have some quarterback runs and have Amolo go ahead and amass at least 60 plus, maybe 100 yards in this game. I'm not in love with what's happening with the Pitt offense right now. And now at the same time, should Pitt win this game handily? Everything indicates that yes. However, a year ago, UCM got them. And I'm going to go ahead. This just feels like a trap game for Pitt at the same time because they got Northwest next week. And this is kind of UCM Super Bowl all of a sudden.
Yeah. I get all the arguments. Pitt is a better football team. Pitt's going to win this game.
They could win this game by 20 points, John, because this is going to be one of those things where they're either going to get upset or they're going to win by a bunch.
Zach and that Amalo is. I've been impressed with him actually. I thought more impressed with him than you have this year. For most of it, I get he's a hot and cold option. It's the problem is the cold going against that secondary for Pitt. I've talked all year about the respect I have for that secondary. Mm-hmm. I think they are picking him off at least twice in this game, and it might get ugly. I just don't think I think this game gets ugly because I don't think UCM's offense is mistake proof this year like they were with Zabrowski. And maybe I'm wrong, and you're going to look like a genius next week if you're right. But I don't see that happening. I got Pitt by multiple scores in this, like 28 points. I don't think this one's close.
Yeah, and for those tuning in who are thinking, oh, they're picking all these upsets. You know what? There's times where we're late in the year. John and I are both down a few games in the pick'em to Matt Daniel of all people, and
we do not want Ferg to beat us
or Fro, but yes,
or Fro.
Yes.
If Ferg was in this thing, I would.
I'm not letting Ferg beat us. See, I'm already beating him in the other thing.
I know you're handling Ferg. So, man, Ferg catches strays for no reason.
And I'm with D on this one. I need Coach Wright to wake up his defense for the upset. D, I'm with you on that. So, I might even need to place a phone call after the show just to go ahead and make this count a little more. So, let them know I believe. So, and you know what? If Pitt rolls in this, I'll get roasted. I can handle it. I'm a big boy. So
I think you'll be okay.
Yeah. So taking a look at the picks themselves, the group picks here. Matt Daniel is 43-13. Good governor. And
little 2-game lead on myself and a 3-game lead on you, or 2-game lead if we go by podcast standards.
Yes, all of that. If we get close enough to the end, I might bring that up again. But
okay, we've been avoiding it right now. Gotcha.
Yes. But
if it goes chalk this week, we'll be talking about the battle for second next week. So
it's a little wild that there's 3 people, John, who have UCM in this.
Yes, that very much caught me off guard. I get Mr. Joseph Andrews, Warrensburg Star-Journal, as you can see there. Go.
Yeah.
If you're a UCM guy, you should be checking out Joe's work. I get him going with the hometown team. I was surprised that our guy Liam from the Topeka Capital Journal, Washburn guy, he also has some faith in the Mules. So I'm, that one threw me off a little bit. I was honestly surprised I was the only one that went Washburn and Southern. Like I said, I get it partially because of the upset thing, but still, I think those are winnable games for both those teams. So
if I'd seen just a little bit more from Washburn, if I'd seen just a tad more from Washburn, this year I would have taken them there, but I just couldn't get there yet.
There's a chance you pass me this week, fully. So it'll be.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance, but yes.
Do you think there is? I think there's a decent chance we end up tied if everything goes chalk this week. But
yes. So let's go ahead and move to what was released today. Now, this is not any of our projections. We talked about projections last night on the Inside D2 Football National show for each super region. When I get here, John, we have got what was officially the regional rankings as of today, according to the regional committee. We have Harding 1, Central Washington 2, Northwest Missouri State 3. I think that those were very clear cut.
Yeah.
I would have been shocked if it was anything different. You have Pueblo in that next grouping here, ahead of Pitt State. Then you have Pitt State. We on the show last night thought Western Colorado would be ahead of Pitt State. They have one less loss, one more win, conversely. Almost the exact same KPI as we take a look left to right. And the wins plus strength of schedule, they're 30 points higher and one more win over 500. So I was surprised by that. I don't think that the committee did a great job of applying the criteria there, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. Because if you do, you don't probably walk away with Pitt State being ahead in that. And that's just me looking at this as a kind of bracketologist type of dork that I am.
AC is just seeing the regional rankings, I guess. I'm glad we could be here for that moment. AC is pumped.
Yeah. So that all said, keep in mind, AC, this is a snapshot in time. The next team that we're going to mention, Shadron, their next two opponents are Pueblo and Western Colorado. So they're going to have to win those games, at least one, I think, to stay in the mix. If they lose both, they're gone. So they're not going to be a favorite in either one of those for what it's worth. I mean, but they're also 7-1, and I didn't have them being that good this year. So Western Oregon has a head-to-head win over UTPB, who's 8th and 9th respectively. And they also, though, John, have Angelo and Central Washington up ahead. Now, then we get to Southern Arkansas. And if I'm going to be honest, Southern Arkansas could kind of be anywhere between 10 and 12 to 15, because there's a whole bunch of GAC teams there and a big old schmaz and it's a matter of they probably look the best of the 6 and 3 grouping there.
Yeah. To me, that's insert three loss team here. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So and so that's why we kind of mentioned that it's going to be hard to move up into the top 8 from there with 3 losses. It just is. So as I look at this, some of the things from an MIAA standpoint, Northwest is in a fantastic spot right there. Okay. If Harding is not going to lose a game, they're the only team that's clinched so far. They've clinched the GAC. I think they did after about 3 weeks of play, but maybe that was just my mind. From there, Central Wash does not have, I mean, that game at Western Oregon, it's not the easiest place in the world to play. Grass field, feels like they let it grow about 6 inches every time I watch a game there.
We had it penciled in that, hey, you get through Angelo, you get through UTPB, and you're good. And Western Oregon has since said, well, don't forget about us out here. So
yeah. And Brad asked the question, if we're going to list the contenders, still hoping past 10. I got to be honest with you, there isn't any. No. That's where I'm at.
I was surprised. I was listening to the Angelo State broadcast of that Central Washington game, and he said at the end of the game, he's like, well, there goes the playoffs because they lost. And in my head, I was like, well, could you be in that 10 spot? But, man, Hayes being down and Poya being down has really hurt them this year with their schedule. If it were last year and those teams were as good as they were last year, and you had 3 losses, then you can talk about it. But
Angelo was, I think, 18th on the list.
Yeah, I know that's
how far they've dropped. But now the reason I say this is because we've got how many right now? You've only got one team in the top 8 that has 2 losses, and that's Pitt.
Yeah,
and as I mentioned, I think they're getting very preferential treatment here in the overall scheme of things, and I understand that they have a very good KPI. Don't get me wrong.
You have them one spot lower, to be fair. And my argument AC, close your ears, is who has, and I know it's criteria and you know the math better than me. Western Colorado has beat absolutely nobody this year. Their best win is West Texas A&M. And I understand it's numbers, and they've actually played more above 500 teams, all of that.
Sure.
But when I just look at the resume for Western Colorado, it's not that impressive. And I know they're a very good team and all of that, but that's the eye test argument for that. And I know the numbers don't agree, and Western should probably be higher, but it also probably takes care of itself with them playing Chadron and Pitt playing Northwest coming up.
And I think we are going to see that. Now, from the MIAA standpoint, Pitt State being 5, the question becomes if they drop that game to Northwest, what happens? I still think they make the playoffs.
I do
because right now they're already getting a really good shake with 2 losses.
Yeah.
That means they're probably also going to get a real good shake with 3 also. And you're going to have some teams towards that 7-8 area that are going to lose some games. We just don't know how many yet, in my opinion. So, I think Chadron or Western Oregon loses a game, maybe 2 in that mix. And so, John, I think realistically, there is 9 teams in this playing for 8 spots.
Absolutely. And I think if Chadron drops those 2 we expect him to drop, I think that takes care of it. And it's 8 teams, and we're just sorting out the order at that point. If Chadron pulls one of those upsets, then it gets pretty interesting with what does Western Oregon do. UTPB, I've just kind of got them penciled in as a 2-loss team at this point because their opponents are really bad down the stretch. But those really bad opponents hurt the metrics too. So I think that gets interesting down the stretch. I think Pitt, unless they lose to UCM this week, I don't see them falling below 7. And I know it doesn't really matter even with 5 through 8. Like, they're going to be sorted geographically after that. But I'm with you. I think 3-loss Pitt makes it pretty easily at this point.
Well, and keep in mind the top 4 get a home game after 11 weeks. And the next 4, 5 through 8, seeds 5 through 8, are like free agents where they can be sent anywhere. Now, there was a question here about Ouachita. They have 3 losses, and they have a head-to-head loss to East Central. And East Central, we thought was actually going to be on the 10 line because East Central has a head-to-head over Southern Arkansas, but it frankly wasn't applied here. The only thing I can think of is that the KPI for Southern Arkansas is quite a bit higher than East Central. But if they're right next to each other, I guess I'm not understanding why they didn't apply that criteria, but that's okay. Once again, that 10th spot is fairly irrelevant, I think. And nobody in the GAC with 3 losses would look like a 3-loss Pitt team in terms of their overall slate. So
no. I see the committee right now almost. I said this to somebody earlier today. I think they're almost disregarding that Ferris game. I think they just think Ferris is that much better, and that almost doesn't count against Pitt, like losing that game because they're so good.
I think that loss is understood, but the fact that they're not really getting punished for the UCO one is kind of interesting to me.
It is a little interesting. I'll say that. I agree. I can't argue with you there, but I just think that's kind of what's happening. And I think in the committee eyes, as Alex points out in the chat, Grand Valley having a down year, but the brand name of beating Grand Valley seems to be helping Pitt a little bit.
Yeah, they're getting hurt. I'm not seeing it, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not. I don't know. Like I said, I made the case earlier for Western not really beating anybody yet, but I'm kind of fine whichever way that 5-6 broke down. I get it from the 1, 2, 3, 4 standpoint. I think those are pretty safe. And like I said, if that ends up being the 5, 6, 7, 8. Right now, we'd be looking at Western Oregon going to Central Washington for a rematch, almost assuredly, because the NCAA is cheap.
The whole 600-mile rule is going to kick in hardcore.
Yeah, because they've never had the opportunity before to do that with Central Washington. They've always had a flight. So they're going to jump all over that. Chadron State would probably go to Northwest, Pitt to Pueblo, or
See, I don't think
go either way.
I
Pitt
think
could
when
go
the
to
music,
Pueblo or Harding.
yeah, and that leads us to this,
Yay.
which is Witt's crystal ball for SR4. There's only been one change to this crystal ball since we came up with it 3 weeks ago. The crystal ball has aged well. Now, what was the change, John?
And it's the same conference. We no longer have the Angelo State Rams in there, and instead we have my Western Oregon Wolves, who I vouched for last week being in the top 25. And looky there, they sure enough showed up this week. So.
Enough teams lost, yeah. Well, and I think they're going to make it. And I think, John, you were kind of alluding to what may very well happen. Well, you're going to have two teams that are going to be on the West Coast. They're going to take the NCAA, the national office. I think that's shooting fish in a barrel for them. That's Western Oregon, who I think ends up probably on that 7 or 8 line. They are going to go, in my opinion, to Central Washington. In my opinion, Pitt State, who I think will finish in the back half, not the front half of the standings.
Ooh, that's in next week's picks.
Well, I think Pitt is going to go to Harding.
Yeah.
And they'll have a rematch, but it's going to be at Harding. And I think, frankly, this is a better Pitt team than they had a year ago. I think offensively, they have more firepower. I don't know if the defense is better, but I know I think the offense is. And I would like to think Pitt has learned a little bit from that first go round. Now, that would give us 2 Colorado teams left, and there's a drivable distance between UTPB under 600 going to Pueblo. So I think you would see that, because I think Pueblo finishes in the top 4. And then I think the only flight you would then have is from Gunnison to Northwest, because I think it's about 800 miles. So you would have one flight in the deal. That's how the crystal ball sees it. But once again, this changes week to week, and everybody's got a fresh resume, and somebody could fall off.
The interesting thing to me, and I know it never happens, but with 3 NSIC teams currently in the bottom 4 in Super Region 3, I would wonder if it ends up that way, if they would consider sending one of those to Northwest to avoid the flight. And then you get down to one flight with sending Western Colorado to God knows where in Super Region 3.
Maybe they'll send Mankato down there.
They would not send Mankato. A certain team that would lose to Mankato this week would be the one that I would look at, but we'll see. We'll see. If it's Western Colorado, though, AC better be coming to Maryville. And
you don't want to see Mankato again?
This version of Mankato, I mean, Coach Mack honestly said it after the first game. He said if we play them later in the season, we'd beat them. I didn't believe him at the time, but he might be right now. So I don't know. I don't think we'll be seeing that matchup, though.
I would be very open to what you were talking about, John, because of the fact that I think in Super Region 3, we're going to run a strong risk of there being Northern Sun at Northern Sun in the first round for the consecutive year streak. Ever since COVID, it's happened every year. And I'm 100% with my guy, Brad Kane, and he and I both think the exact same thing with that. So
I think if Mankato beats, Chadron needs to be eliminated from it in order for this to happen, because Chadron is a drive, and that's just easy to send them to Northwest. if Mankato beats Augustana this week and then Shadron loses, my antenna will be up to see if they will do that this year. I don't know if they will, but I'll be it. I feel like they should if those two things happen. I just don't know if they will.
Well, John, you need to draw it up and tell us what that looks like next week. We need to have the John crystal ball of who ends up where and how does the swapping of those two regions look. I'm in for it. I just don't know exactly how we get there.
I need to know yep, we'll do it after regional rankings next week. It'll be a quick turnaround, but nothing like putting some additional work on my plate from you, Witt. So I appreciate it.
We're all here for it. So, well, buddy, that's kind of us unpacking a little bit what the super regions are looking like. Yeah, obviously with SR4, we think it's narrowed down to 9 teams playing for 8 spots, and I'm normally pretty open-minded about some of those teams that are 11, 12, and all that. Those GAC teams, I just don't see it, John. I just don't.
Yeah, and especially with like Western Oregon and Shadron in the bottom half, and I think they're going to take some losses coming up. I want to be open-minded about somebody maybe jumping them, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think those teams are set pretty well.
Well, and if Shadron were to split, I think they probably stay in the mix, buddy.
I think they're in, and then we're talking, does Western Oregon pull a massive upset? And if they don't, might be tough for the Wolves and the dream of no flights in the Northwest. So
well, and I think UTPB is kind of sitting there at 9 going, okay, we know we're not going to lose another game because they have Sul Ross and they have Eastern New Mexico, and I'm thinking that they roll in those 2 games. But they still kind of need for something to happen, in that bottom portion.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. RMAC Insider, he knows the RMAC. He's liking Shadron's chances, so I'm all for it. I love the fight and Danny Woodheads over there, so keep it rolling. And Don Beebe says he'll remind us pretty quick.
Well, appreciate everyone tuning on in for the show. We will go ahead and we will on Sunday night talk a little bit more about the results and how we think it will affect all of this. So if you wanted to see what we were talking about with the other super region a little earlier on the Northern Sun show, feel free to go ahead and tune on into that. Tony and I on Wednesday will go ahead and look at things from kind of a GLIAC view, and then our guys from the RMAC will be on Wednesday as well to go ahead and tell us how they're going to get 2 teams with a home game.
With a home game, okay. I was thinking you mean in the playoffs. I was like, they've still got New Mexico Highlands in, I think. So we'll see. Just pull your leg, AC.
Yeah.
But man, if you thought the MIAA with just 2 teams in contention was a narrow view of the playoffs, wait till you and Tony break down one team on Wednesday there. So
yeah, it is what it is.
But one team that's locked into their one spot. It's a good spot to be locked into, though.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning on in. We will catch up with you as the week continues. And John, once again, have yourself a good week too, buddy.
Oh, you too.